Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Dremu, and today we're going to be going over a new deck. This is going to be the Red Dragon Archfiend deck. This is a pretty cool archetype. It's resonator cards. It's resonator. These are all tuners, and you have to kind of splash in some generic level 4s that can be special summoned easily to go into your synchros. I'm going to go ahead and go through the list and explain why everything's in here. Viability wise, this deck is kind of on the far end. It's easy to brick with this deck. You have so many tuners, and if you end up with a handful of tuners, then you can't really do much. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So first, we have the Effect Veiler. Usually I don't go over like non-archetypal or staple cards, but this one actually has a pretty cool thing to do with this. So it's a level 1 tuner, so you can normal summon it to go into a level 8, 9, or I guess 9 or 10. Usually you go into the 10 one if you're summoning this. But then it also counts as a monster negate on your opponent's turn. And you can also search it out kind of with the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, which is kind of cool. Next, we have one synchro resonator. I'm only running this at 1 just because it doesn't really come up too often. I need 1 tuner, and if I do, I usually don't have these either in the hand or in the graveyard. If it is in the graveyard, that's kind of sucks because I don't have an easy way to get it back with these monsters I have, but usually it most likely just won't be in there. And this effect is, if you control a synchro monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And once returned, if this card is sent from your graveyard to your hand, from the fields of the graveyard, you can target 1 resonator monster in your graveyard except for itself and add it to your hand. Next, you have Chain Resonator. When this card is normal summoned while a synchro monster is on the field, so either on yours or your opponent's, you can summon 1 resonator monster from your deck. This effect will most likely never go off. Really annoying because I'm like, okay, it says I can normal summon it and then I can just get a resonator. Not how that works. So yeah, be careful when you normal summon this if you do plan to normal summon it, which I don't know why you would. You wouldn't get your good Crimson Resonator effect off of it, unfortunately. Again, I'm only running this on 1 because I don't really want it in my hand. I want to be able to search it if I do need to. Next, I'm running 3 Side Reflectors. This is a staple in any non-archetypal. Well, I guess this is an archetype, but it doesn't really have good synchronization within its archetype because there are archetypes that have, or there are cards in this archetype that aren't synchros or tuners, but they're all pretty terrible. So this is definitely a staple in these type of decks. Anyway, Side Reflector is when it's normal special summon, you can add 1 assault mode or 1 card that specifically lists assault mode activate in X text from your deck to your hand. You want to normal summon or special summon this either by emergency teleport, just normal summon it, and then you'll get Assault Beast. Assault Beast, you can discard this card to get assault mode activate, and then once you get assault mode activate, you can activate a secondary effect, which is you can reveal 1 assault mode activate in your hand and target 1 monster in your graveyard that specifically lists assault mode activate, which is always going to be beast. And if you do increase its level by 1 to 4, so you get to pick between 1. It says 1 to 4. That's pretty self-explanatory. However, that's really cool because you can always go ahead and get any generic. Was it 6 to 9 synchro on the field, which is really cool. This one we usually go to it for level 9, but we do have plays if we can't go into it, which has happened before and it hasn't really worked out, but there's not much I can do about that. Next, just 1 Maxi, everyone knows what that does. And then you have Red Resonator, which when this is normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand. When this card is special summon, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field, gain life points equal to its attack. Now, it does say its attack, so not just original attack, which is really cool, because the boss dragon is Red Supernova Dragon. It gains 500 attack for each tuner in the graveyard, so it's not at all common for this thing to have like 5,000, 5,500, 6,000 attack. if you can somehow special summon this on to your field, and you can gain 6,000 life points right there, which is pretty funny. And then you have one Hop Ear Squadron. Doesn't really come up too often, but if it does, what you can do is you can usually end on at least a level 8 synchro. Use Hop Ear Squadron on your opponent's turn to then go into Baron de Fleur. That way you have an Omni-Negate on the field. Make it a little bit better. I haven't had that happen too often, but when it does come in handy. Next, you have 3 Crimson Resonators, and this is the best Resonator in the whole deck. Unfortunately, it's still not all that good. You have to have no monsters. You have to control no monsters to be able to special summon this card from your hand. And if you activate any of its effects, you can only special summon Dark Dragon Synchro monsters from your extra deck, which doesn't sound like it would be all that bad, but there's a couple that are in here that can't. Namely, you have Crimson Blader, which I just now added this, but I know this guy's pretty good. You can't go into Baron de Fleur, you can't go into the Ravenous Crocodile or Shooting Riser Dragon. All these other ones you can go into, but those are the 3 that really kind of suck that you can't go into. Its secondary effect is if you control a Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck. So ideally what you would do is you would have Crimson Resonator, then you get 2 Red Resonators on the field, and from there you will go into Red Supernova Dragon because you need 3 tuners and 1 non-tuner synchro monster. So you would synchro summon with level 4s and Crimson Resonator into Red Rising Dragon. Use Red Rising Dragon's effect to special summon your Crimson Resonator back out, and then use this level 2 and then 2 Red Resonators to go into Red Rising Dragon. Go into the Red Supernova Dragon with Red Rising Dragon as the non-tuner. So it's a pretty cool I want to say gimmick. It's a pretty cool combo. But you do have to use like 5 cards actually to get Red Supernova Dragon in here, but it is worth it because it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And we'll go over what it does all in just a little bit. But yeah, I'm running 3 of those because that is the best synchro the best Resonator that you have in the deck. Just 1 Ash Blossom. I don't have any more than just 1. Same with a Max C, but it doesn't really matter. This is a tuner, so you can use some stuff with that. Next I'm running 2 Wish of the Black Forest, which is pretty cool. If you can end up, special summoning out the Crimson Resonator, you can normal summon Wish of the Black Forest, and when you go into your Red Rising Dragon, Wish of the Black Forest will be able to search out any of your. This is defense, so you can search out either Maxi or Effect Veiler, or obviously any of the other monsters that have below 1500 defense, which are most likely just going to be your hand traps anyways. So it's a hand trap searcher, excluding Ash Blossom, of course, and you can use it in just about anything. Unfortunately, you can't use this with Sangan since it's level 3, and you have no way to go into your Red Rising Dragon with level 3. We've already went over Assault Beast. I'm only running 1 of these so I don't wind up with Assault Beast in my hand, because if I do, it's not the end of the world, but I do want to search off a Psy Reflector. Next, I actually didn't know about this combo, however, this is pretty cool. So I was dueling in the non-ranked duel rooms. I was just learning a deck, and I ran into a Red Dragon Archfiend deck with this in their deck. I was like, well, what's that? Why, because they just special summoned it. I was like, what is that? And it took me a little bit to actually figure it out. Its effect is kind of like Double-Edged Sword. You can special summon this card from your hand, and when it's special summoned this way, your opponent can target 1 level 4 monster in either creator's graveyard and special summon that target into to their side of the field. Now, that's not all that great. However, a lot of the decks nowadays don't run level 4s, so they're either be forced to take 1 of your monsters or just not special summon anything at all, which is pretty cool. And then we're playing at 3 just so we can have it in an opening hand. The only downside is that you can only use once per turn, but that's fine. Next, I'm running 3 Wandering King Wildmen, or Wild Wind. If you control level 15, if you control a Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If summoned this way, you can also summon cards from the extra deck except for synchro monsters. During your main phase, except return this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. That can save you, because if you have Chaos Ruler in the graveyard, say you synchroed it off last turn, and you survive until this turn, you can easily then go into your level 10s, that being Baron or the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, which if you synchro summon off for the magical dragon, you'll most likely went to Hot Red Dragon Archfiend of Abyss. And yeah, it's a pretty easy way to get back to your single field negate, which is pretty good if you use it at the right time. Then I'm running just 1 Harvest Feather Duster and 1 Monster Reborn. Those 2 are at 1, of course. And then 1 for 1, that way I can just search out their Side Reflector if needed. I'm not running Raigeki because the boss monster of this archetype is kind of like it's a better Raigeki. It can banish all of the monsters that your opponent controls, and we do have Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, which can destroy all special summon monsters on the field, which is pretty cool. Then I'm running 3 Resonator Call just so I can get my Resonators to my hand. This can be a brick, but I actually don't start with this in the hand as much as I would like. Like, I start with my 1-ofs way more than I start with my 3-ofs for some reason. Then I'm running 1 Dark Ruler No More, because even though this is a deck where you can get a lot of high attack monsters out, you really want to go first with this so you can set up your board, make a very very prominent board state, and then just pass to your opponent's turn, and then hopefully survive until the next turn. And if you don't, Dark Ruler No More is kind of there to shut down all of your opponent's monsters' effects so that you can, go off anyways. Then Lightning Storm, just another way to get rid of back row, because back row is pretty dangerous nowadays. Next, just 1 Promise Prosperity. You usually don't want to use this, but if you do, you'll probably get rid of the Samsara, Shooting Riser, Crimson Blader, and then probably the Heart Red Dragon Archfiend Kingdom Calamity. Honestly, it's not all that good. Then Croc Dragon, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then probably Beel's 6th. That way you can just search out your deck a little more. And then 2 Emergency Teleport. This is a Psychic type, so you can easily just special summon it from your deck with it. And then 2 Called by the Graves, because this deck does get ruined by Ash Blossom. As any type of interruption, it does kind of just die to. But if you can get your plays off, then that feels really good, and Called by helps with that. Then obviously just 1 Assaultment Activate. You do not want to add more than 1 of these. And then you have Red Rain, which is this archetypal's best trap card. I think there's more, I can't remember for sure. But it's really cool, because what it can do is, if you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can banish all monsters on the field except for the highest level. Now that does kind of suck, because if your opponent gets like a level 10 out and you only have a level 8, your monster would get banished too, and then your opponent's monsters would become unaffected by other trap cards or other cards' effects, which is not good. Anyway, also the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other cards' effects except its own. Now I do see a potential, like, okay, that might be good if your opponent tries to like equip something onto their opponent's card, or if they try to use like an attack boost or like attack twice. I do see where that would be pretty cool. Just banish your own cards just so they could stop that. But it's pretty cool, but it has its drawbacks. And one of the best things about this is its recurrence. If a dark dragon synchro monster is synchro summoned to your side of the field, while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So it doesn't even just set it, which does kind of suck because you have to set it on your turn, but that doesn't really matter all that much. And that way you can, because usually when you set cards directly to the field, they get banished afterwards. This one, you just add it to your hand and then, set it on the next turn. Your opponent would know you have it, but there's not much they can do to stop it. And it does banish every card, not just or it banishes all monsters on the field, not just your opponent. So that does kind of suck, but it is what it is. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the extra deck. Samsara is if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card you control is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can target one monster in your player's graveyard and special summon it to your field. That, I don't think I've ever had that go off. I don't really summon this too much, but it is a potentially cool effect. If they have a pretty strong monster in the graveyard, or if they try to resurrect something after they destroy your monster, you can pretty much just take it back. That's kind of cool. But anyway, after that you have 2. I would recommend running this at 3, honestly, but you usually don't really need it. Red Rising Dragon. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 resonator monster in your graveyard to summon it. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. The turn you activate this effect, except for Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 2 level 1 resonators from your graveyard and special summon them. Again, that most likely will never happen, but if it does, you have the options to go into 2 level 1 tuners. Next, you have Shooting Riser Dragon. I have never used this at all. I might just take it out and put another Red Rising Dragon in it. I'm not going to go over this because this does not help me at all. And then Red Dragon Archfiend, just now put in the deck because I took out a couple of cards that weren't really helping me all that much. So, not going over this either. Then you have Crimson Blader. This one's pretty cool. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can send it to the graveyard. Your opponent cannot normally special summon level 5 or higher monsters during the next turn. Especially with the higher level monsters that are being played in today's meta with tier limits going around, and I know Flu does it too. If you can get this out and destroy your opponent's monster, it kind of shuts out their plays for their turn, which is kind of cool. Then you have Beals, of the Diabolical Dragons. Cannot be destroyed by battle of card effects. If you take damage from an attack involving this card or from an opponent's card effect, this card gains attack equal to the damage you took. This is pretty good. It is a completely destruction immunity, and it gains attack so that if you do attack into your opponent's monster, if they attack into you, you can immediately just respond and on your next turn just crash with it. They're not destroying this one, but you destroy your opponent's monster. Then you have Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and what this thing's effect is you can once per turn you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. This usually will never come into play. However, if you do need that little bit extra burn damage, it is always there for you to do that little bit extra. Then you have Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. This is the one you're going to be going into the most. If this card is synchro summoned, you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck. And if you do, add 1 light or dark monster that you excavated to your hand. Also send the rest of the cards to your graveyard. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen as much as you would think, because a lot of these are not dark or light. You have Red Resonator, which is fire. You have Assault Beast, which is earth. Then you have this Dinotherium, which is wind. This Hop Ear Squadron, which is wind. or you could just mill out all of your spells and traps, which has happened to me. Not great, but it has. Then you have Maxi and Ash Blossom, just all bad right there, all bad mills, but it's happened before. Then you have the Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Quick effect: you can target one face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one tuner monster in your graveyard and summon it in defense position. So it's just an easy way to get another tuner on the field. And it says any card, so if they try to Raigeki you, you can just negate that effect. Or if they get a problematic monster out, you can negate that effect as well. So it's not too bad. Then you have the Red Dragon. This one's really only good for just drawing cards. You probably won't be using it all that much. I just now added this in the deck, so I'm not exactly sure how good it's going to be, since this deck doesn't really have good draw power, but it's there if you need it. Then you have Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. You can tribute one monster, then target one Red Dragon Archfiend monster in your graveyard and special summon it. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon two tuners with the same level, one from your deck and one from your graveyard, in defense position. So that's pretty cool right there. Next, you have Baron de Fleur. It's just you know, one pop per turn and a one turn Omni Negate, or a one-time Omni Negate while it's race up in the field. However, what's really cool is that you do kind of want to go back into your other synchros. So if you have this out on your next turn, you just return this back to your deck and then bring it back out, and you have the Omni Negate again. If you were able to get level 8 and level 2 back on the field, which is not that hard to do at all. And this one is pretty cool. However, I don't really have a sufficient way to, or a way at all, to go into this on the opponent's turn. When this card is synchro summoned, you can activate this effect. For the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot activate cards. Also, your opponent's cards your opponent controls cannot activate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this activation. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed, you can target one level 8 or lower Dark Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard and just summon it. So that was a mouthful, but the main takeaway is you can burn your opponent for quite a bit of damage. Has 4,000 attack anyways. You can attack over anything, and your opponent can't activate cards when this card is synchro summoned. So it's kind of a mix between Flame Wingman and the new Neospatian card, which I don't have on this one, but it's Cosmo Neos. It's a mix between those two, and you can get it out if you really want to by playing Burning Soul. If you control level 8 or higher synchro monster, add one card from your hand to your graveyard to your hand. Then immediately after this card, after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control as material. For the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, your opponent cannot target synchro monsters on the field with card effects. Seems like something super good to be in the to be in your deck. And you can just, return any card that you want to your hand. However, this is bricked a lot. Now, I don't think it would have bricked that so much if I had the forethought to actually use it as was intended. Because you really just want to leave your level 8 out there, and then 2 level 2s so you can go into Calamity. That way you can pretty much just stop your opponent from, playing that turn. But it can brick if you aren't able to get all those out, which I might actually just add in. Probably over these two, honestly. Now I'll keep that one. And we really do need the Monster Reborn. I'm not taking any monsters out. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that as well. Alright, so we add 2 of those in. That will be pretty helpful with how everything is played out. but I don't really see this working all that good in the long run. But yeah, this is a useful card, but it's going to be hard to get out with that's, you know, effective at all. Next, I have Red Supernova Dragon. Must be synchro summoned, or must first be synchro summoned, which I hate that card, that line of text. Every synchro monster or every extra deck monster needs to be summoned properly first. So this little first line of text, I'm sure it has like some stupid thing with the rollings and stuff, but it doesn't make sense to me, honestly. But anyways, it gains 500 attack for each tuner in your graveyard, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and once returned, when your opponent activates a monster effect, or when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can activate this card. Banish this, activate this effect. Banish this card. Also, banish all cards your opponent controls. During your next, once returned during your next end phase, after this card is banished by its own effect, special summon this banished card. So you can banish everything. Yeah, you do lose a pretty big beat stick, but you would have banished all of your opponent's monsters, which is pretty cool. No, actually all of your opponent's cards. I thought it was just monsters, but I got these two mixed up, Red Rain and Red Supernova Dragon. So this is just a banish all on your opponent's side of the field when your opponent activates a monster effect or declares an attack. Now in today's meta, that's pretty good, because you have tier limits, which goes into Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos can do a lot of annoying things, but it's not quick effects. So as soon as it's special summoned out, it'll use this effect to, I think, mill or add something or send to the graveyard. Then once that's done, you can immediately respond with Red Supernova Dragon and banish everything that your opponent controls, including Kit Kalos, which they can't really get back easily unless they're running that annoying trap card. And once I do that, you kind of just shut them down, which is just so cool. It's so cool. You can just easily just override tier limits. It's so cool. But anyway, yep, that is the deck. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I have found this has been pretty consistent. If you do get like max seed, you don't have a way to stop it, then you're just like, okay, normal summon and turn. But other than that, this is pretty viable, especially in today's meta. With flu doesn't really help all that much. But if you do happen to come up against a flu player, you can negate the flu monster on the field, and then even if they do bring a monster back to their hand with their effect, with the other monster's effect, you can just stop them from normal summoning from there, unless they have the map. Which if they do, kind of sucks. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, anyway. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.